Hello and welcome to Episode 9 of our Unit 4 Financials Feature Spotlight Series. In this episode, we're going to look at Flexi-Fields in financials. Flexi-Fields was introduced to Unit 4 Financials in version 13. It was first introduced as an element Flexi-Fields, and then at version 14 introduced as transactional Flexi-Fields. I'm going to explain the differences during the presentation, but let's first talk about what are Flexi-Fields. Flexi-Fields are attributes of an element. It could be a supplier, a customer, a department, even a project, and against those elements you can have all kinds of information. If it's an element that information will be fixed against that element, it will never change. You can change the attributes of the element at any time, but it will be fixed until you change it. The other type of Flexi-Fields is what we call a transactional type of Flexi-Fields, and that's an extension of transactional information, so that isn't fixed. It's dependent on the actual document that you're inputting. What types of Flexi-Fields can you have? There are various data types. You can have text, and those texts can be free format, or you can set them up in lists, on a drop-down list to pick from. It can be a table. A table can only be against a transactional type Flexi-Field. It can be an integer, i.e. a number without decimal places. It could be a date. It could be an element. You could have a Flexi-Field linked to another element, or it could be a checkbox. And finally, it could be a decimal, i.e. a number with a certain amount of decimal places. How can they be used? In projects, if you set up an element as a project, then you can hold lots of information against it. You can hold, for example, the project manager. In a table, you could hold the milestones. You could even hold the budgets. For example, an authorization status or a CapEx number. Now that would be against the element, but at transactional level, you could hold further information that is dependent on the document itself or transaction itself. Other types of uses? If you are using an element as a policy or a claim, the kind of things you could use against it are the vessel name, gross tonnage, year built, inception data, etc., etc. All the ancillary information that you would want to hold against the claim. With suppliers, you could hold things like the date the supplier was approved, average and annual spend, the type of spend, the type of supplier, is it wholesale, is it retail, etc. The lead time for the supplier to buy goods and services. Elements could also be used for vehicles. For example, logistics companies may want to hold registration number, the date the vehicle was registered, when the tax and MOT is due, what type of vehicle it is, petrol, diesel, and in a table, they could hold the service record. Now, it's great getting the information in using Flexi-Fields, but how to get the information out? Well, the good thing is that Unit 4 Financials has built Flexi-Fields into all its reporting capabilities. For example, you can use generic browse. You can get Flexi-Fields built into a metadata table, and through metadata, produce a generic browse report, and the same with browse transactions. Browse transactions is dependent on metadata, so again, if you build the Flexi-Field into the data view, then you'll be able to browse the transactions through that facility. Now, on some of the older reporting facilities, like Browse Balance, Browse Details, Browse Ledger, and Aging and Account Summary, again, Unit 4 has built Flexi-Fields into all those features. If you are looking at Selectors, Presenters, Browse Balance Masters, you'll see the ability to add Flexi-Fields into those reports. It's just a matter of creating the Flexi-Field and then adding it to the appropriate report master. How do we show it in output? The good news is that in print formats, you can build all the Flexi-Fields into things like invoicings, remittances, customer statements, and reminder letters. Unfortunately, Flexi-Fields are not built into procurement and invoice matching, so you cannot use it in, for example, a purchase order. But then there is no need to, because within procurement, there are things called user-defined fields, which work in a very similar concept to Flexi-Fields. Probably not as powerful, but they still do the job. If you're doing purchase ordering, you would normally use defined fields, not Flexi-Fields. Let's take a look in practice. First of all, let's run a report. We've created a project report, and here we can show you how we've used Flexi-Fields on this demo system. In this example, we'll show a project as an implementation. You can convert it into the type of ways that you would want to use Flexi-Fields. I'm going to run the project report, and after I've shown you this report, I'm going to show you how you can enter Flexi-Fields to change the information. You can see here I've got a project code, and that is an element of this database. And you can see it's for a company called SPI Limited, and it's a procurement and invoice matching implementation. This part of the project code and the project name that is not Flexi-Field, that is the element code and the element name. But here, the project type, that is a Flexi-Field, because what's the project? Procurement's invoice matching. It could be a financials project, it could be a fixed asset project, it could be a billing project. We are breaking it down into types of projects. Who's the project manager? Chris is the project manager. Again, that is a Flexi-Field. And here I've set up the start date of the project and the finish date of the project. These 4 fields are called element Flexi-Fields. They are fixed. The project type will always be procurement and invoice matching. The project manager, unless Chris retires, will always be the project manager for this project, and the start and finish dates are fixed. The project value is incremental, as we keep adding more and more transactions to it. What you can do is break down that project into transactions, and here is the report. Again, that's the element. The element name, again, that's the type, that's an element Flexi-Field. All this information, the project manager, project finish, is the same, but here you start to see the different types of transactions. This one's a technical, that one's an application, this is a project manager, this is the grade, again, this is transactional. The name of the person that's doing the service, a description of the transaction date, and the transaction value. Now of these, the type, the grade, the name, those are all what we call transactional Flexi-Fields. The line description is the document line, the transaction date is the document date, and the document value is the transaction value. You can see that this report is a mixture of element tracks, transactional fields, transactional Flexi-Fields, and document information. Here is a milestone. You can break that milestone down and you can see the milestones, the project initiation, start, finish, budget, owner, technical installation, prototype build. You can have a table built into the report, and these can be maintained, amended at any time. Now, how do I update that? If I go back, you can see the project value is 21,000. Let's put in the transaction, a general invoice. This is a typical invoice I'm putting through financials. The invoice date, supplier invoice number, purchase order number, document description. Here, these are Flexi-Fields. Let's say that this is application, the grade of the consultant name, and can put attachments in. Check header. One thing to stress here is all this information on the header, you can have transactional Flexi-Fields that are based on lines as well. We are not demonstrating in this video, but for example, you could have an invoice and its different transactions have different Flexi-Fields. For these purposes, this is a header Flexi-Field, but you could have built these into the lines rather than the header information. Let's put in a supplier. Invoice total 5,000. And expense is computer consultancy. It's for the IT department and the project. Let's make it simple and say 0 VAT. prototype build, generate tax, post to books. Now an invoice has been posted, let's go back to this. You can see it was 21,000, reload it, it's now 26,000 because we've added another invoice, and if we break that down, you'll see the 5,000 put in. That's a quick demonstration. Hopefully it's given you a flavour of Flexi-Fields and what it can do. It makes financials more than just a set of ledgers. It's now an information system that you can maintain a lot more information that you used to be able to. You were once limited to 6 external reference fields. Now the sky's the limit on what you can hold against the document, and we can hold against an element. All this is reportable, and all of this can be put on outputs like invoices, remittances, reminder letters, etc. If this is something that you would like to investigate further, then please do contact us, as we're always happy to help. You can watch more of our Unit4 Financial Spotlight series on our YouTube channel. Here at Millennium Consulting, we provide dedicated support for your business. Our team of consultant-grade application and technical experts provide you with a wealth of experience in supporting mission-critical systems. We monitor and manage your solutions so you do not have to, allowing you to focus on growing your business. Contact us for further details by visiting our website, millenniumconsulting.com. Thank you.